Hi, and welcome to the Urban Classroom. I'm Mrs. Briggs, and thank you for joining me today in the Urban Classroom. If you do not have something to write with at this time, go ahead and get it because we're about to start a new lesson, and you should take notes to help you reflect on the learning today. Today's lesson is called Spain and the New World. We are on Unit 1, Lesson 3. So we're going to talk about Christopher Columbus, Columbus being lost. We're going to talk about the exchange, the Columbian Exchange, and also diseases that were brought to the New World. So for every lesson, I always provide an outline so that you can follow me as I go through today's lesson. This is our job. Scholars will be able to describe the economic, social, political, and environmental factors that influence Spanish exploration and colonization. And the way that we're going to do this is by summarizing information, and we're going to make connections. Now you say, why, Ms. Brooks? Why are we learning about this today? Well, we're learning about this because powerful countries all around the world, they make rules about other people's lives. So we have to think about how Britain, China, Australia, even America have had people under their control and people who had to follow rules and regulation. And sometimes those people are not always treated properly. Actually, a lot of times, those people are not treated properly. And so we want to learn how the government treated people in the past, so that we can learn from that information and be able to make changes in our future and in our present time by making sure that everybody has choices and everybody have a right to live their own personal life. So let's take a look today at Spain and how Spain was able to colonize and explore the New World. Before I teach any lesson, I always provide a collage of pictures to help you understand what you should be able to learn by the end of the lesson. So take a moment to just look at the collage of pictures. All right, by the end of the lesson, this is what you should learn. Let's talk about Christopher Columbus. See, Columbus was an Italian sea captain, and he really admired Marco Polo. He loved the way that Marco Polo was able to sail to India. Now, during this time in history, when we say India, we're talking about the area near China, okay, China, but it was called India during that time. Well, Marco Polo was so successful, and he brought back spices, and he provided silk for trade. Marco Polo just brought a lot of wealth into European countries. And so now you have the book that Marco Polo wrote about his travel, and Christopher Columbus will be so inspired by Marco Polo that he wants to be famous and rich just like Marco Polo was. So Columbus, he tries to convince other European countries to help him out. Because if you're going to go on a voyage, if you're going to make your way to India, then you're going to need transportation. You're going to need a crew. You got to have provisions, your supplies, and that stuff is expensive. Costs a lot of money. And so he's going to need a little bit of help. He goes to different countries. He asks, hey, can you help me out? I'm trying to go on this voyage. I'm trying to reach China. I want to strike it rich just like Marco Polo did. But unfortunately, European kings and queens are like, no, I don't think so. I know Marco Polo, but I don't really know you. So you might not be able to be successful. Well, Christopher Columbus, he doesn't let that get him down. He decides to seek help, and he continues to ask different countries, can you help finance this voyage? And finally, the king and queen of Spain will help him. That will be King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. They will fund they will fund Christopher Columbus' voyage, just like Marco Polo was able to go and be successful. Christopher Columbus is now on a mission to get to India so that he can also bring riches to the country of Spain. Now, when you were probably in 5th grade or maybe 3rd grade, the teacher probably talked to you about the 3 famous ships that Christopher Columbus was on. Now, Columbus had a lot more than 3 ships, but there are 3 that are very famous. By any chance, do you know the name of those ships? There are 3. Well, if you're thinking and you came up with the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, then you got it right. So there are several ships that are going to travel with Columbus, but these were considered the 3 most famous ships. Christopher Columbus, he's supposed to be going over there to India, but unfortunately he is going to get lost. He gets lost in the Caribbean. Now, my husband and I would like to travel a lot, and these are some of our pictures that we took when we were in the Caribbean, different islands, kind of what it looked like, and maybe that's what Christopher Columbus saw when he was in the New World. Well, Christopher Columbus, he did set sail across the Atlantic Ocean, and the year was 1492, but he never reached Asia. He was lost. Columbus actually landed in the area where today we have Haiti and the Dominican Republic. This is that area near the Bahamas, near Puerto Rico, near Cuba. That area is where Christopher Columbus actually landed in. Well, Columbus, he did establish Spain's first settlement in the New World, and others will follow him. More explorers will come, more missionaries will come, and more colonists will soon come to the areas that Columbus discovered, so they say. But it's hard to say that you discover something when there's already millions of people in the area. So to say that Christopher Columbus discovered America, that is not true. Okay, Columbus never actually came of America. 50 states are at? No, he never touched land in that area. He was in the area where the islands are near Haiti, Dominican Republic. Okay, and to say that someone discovered a place, that's kind of like me saying, I discovered your house and your bedroom and your kitchen, but you've been living there for a while. So it's not accurate to say that he discovered America. If you look at this map, you'll see the area that Columbus actually sailed to. Notice it is not where we live at in North America. He is on near the island in the Caribbean. Okay, now I want to ask you a few questions. I just want to know what you think. I want to know, what type of fruits and vegetables do you like to eat? That's question number 1. What kind of fruits and vegetables you like to eat? Also, I'd like to know, what would you do if an elderly person coughed or sneezed right there in your face? What would you do? And the third thing I want to know is, how could you make people work for you, but without paying them? Is all of this possible? Now you might say, Ms. Burris, why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about fruits and sneezing on people and coughing and trying to get people to work for free? Well, there's a reason why I'm talking about all of these things, because they are related to none other than Christopher Columbus. Let's see how. See, Christopher Columbus, he sailed to the New World, and he started one of the most important trade systems in the entire world history. Well, it was a trade of animals and grains and plants between the old world and the new world, between the East and the West, between Europe and the Americas. For example, if you love eating hamburgers, you probably want to thank Christopher Columbus for that, because Christopher Columbus, he brought to America the cattle, and he also brought over certain fruits like bananas, sugarcane, grapes, citrus fruits. These were brought into the Americas. But also there were some things that Christopher Columbus took back with him to Europe, such as sweet potatoes, avocados, peanuts, potatoes, tomatoes, corn, even pineapple. So that hamburger that you love to eat, thanks to Christopher Columbus, because he also brought the cattle over to the New World. Even horses and pigs and sheep were brought from the New World. Brought from Europe into the New World. And this is called the Columbian Exchange. I have to ask this question. In your opinion, was this exchange good or was it bad for Native Americans? That's the question. Was it good or bad for Native Americans? Well, it depends who you ask. Unfortunately, when Europeans came over to the New World, in addition to those great things that they brought, those fruits, those plants, those animals, also brought diseases. Diseases such as smallpox, typhus, cholera, even the measles. This, unfortunately, will be deadly for Native Americans. Between 2 and 18 million indigenous people are going to die because of their contact with Europeans. And unfortunately, their immune system just was not able to fight off these different diseases. And so a lot of Native American indigenous people will die. And it was spread through contact, coughing, and that the disease just spread, and just so many million of indigenous people died because of it, unfortunately. Now, I'm going to continue the second half of the lesson. I want to talk about the controversy of Columbus. People will call Conquistadors. I want to talk about missionaries, Encomiendas, and replacements. So our focus today is on Spain and how Spain came to the New World. Controversy about Columbus. Okay, the first issue that a lot of people have with Columbus is that he was lost and he thought he was in India. So he saw these people. He says, "Hey, you must be an Indian because I'm in India." Well, no, you're not. You're lost. That name, unfortunately, is stuck. And today, still, some people call indigenous people, Native Americans, still call them Indians. But that's not a correct description of people. So that was an issue, but also Columbus actually murdered a lot of indigenous people. He used violence against them. He used slavery to force Native Americans to work. He also did not want Native Americans to practice the religion of their culture. They were converted to Catholicism. And he also introduced a lot of diseases that had long-term effects on Native Americans and killed many of them. See, Columbus kind of saw Native Americans as an obstacle to his economic, social, political, and environmental goals. Now, today, in the classroom, we don't talk about Columbus as some kind of hero or someone to be celebrated. We used to in the past. The school used to have a day off during Columbus' birthday, but we don't do that anymore. And if you look around in the world today, statues of Columbus have been torn down in different countries in the Caribbean area, and torn down and destroyed because now that we know more about Columbus and the kind of atrocities that he committed, we don't really want to celebrate that. Now, after Columbus, you're going to have more Spanish explorers who are coming to the New World. You have people like Hernan Cortez, who went to Mexico. And unfortunately, while Cortez is in Mexico, he is going to overthrow this powerful civilization called the Aztec. These indigenous people will basically be slaughtered by Cortez. Then you have Francisco Pizarro. Pizarro will go to Peru and he will conquer this mighty empire of people called the Incas. And the Incas were also indigenous people. Well, both groups really weren't able to defend themselves the way that they needed to because the Conquistadors, they had advanced technology, superior weapons like cannons, crossbows, even the horses. The Native American people had never even seen these horses before. Well, unfortunately, the contact with Europeans is going to lead to the demise of indigenous people in parts of the New World. Spain, when they sent Columbus over and they sent other explorers over to the New World, they also allowed missionaries to come into the New World, where the missionaries' job, they're like religious people, church people, the missionaries' job were to convert Native Americans into Catholics. And so the missionaries were sharing ideas about God, about life, about living. Spain used religion, however, to justify their domination over the native people. In a way, you could say that Spain, the people from Spain, thought that they were better than the indigenous people, and they needed to subdue and control native people. And they used religion to do it. Some Spaniards, they had children by native people, and those children were called mestizos. But there's a lot of different levels. It depends on what the child was mixed with, how close is the parent to Spain or Native Americans, a lot of different names to describe mixed children during this time period. But many people who are from Mexico, from Central America or South America, they have ancestors who are both Native American, as well as European, because it was a mixture of people. Now let's talk about the Spanish Encomiendas. Spain hired Columbus to come to the New World. Christopher Columbus was colonizing the area, claiming the area for Spain. And the whole focus is to get wealth. Well, you have to have workers if you're trying to get wealthy, and the Spaniards will enslave the Native American people, the indigenous people in the area, and force them to work in the mines, looking for gold, looking for silver and other precious minerals. The Encomiendas, kind of think of it like a farmland area, and the people, the Native American people, are working on the Encomiendas, and it becomes a very abusive and destructive place. It got so bad that Native Americans were running away and they tried to escape, but a lot of them were just killed, or they either were worked to death. Can you imagine? You're being beaten, and you're barely getting enough to eat, and you're working from sunrise to sunset. And a lot of Native Americans just were not able to survive under these kind of conditions under Spanish rule. So you're going to have millions of Native American people dying under the control of Spain in the New World. Well, that leads us to the replacement. The Spaniards decided that they're going to need to replace the Native Americans. They have to replace them as workers because too many of the Native Americans were dying. So that's how Black people got involved. Spain helped started what is called a transatlantic slave trade, where Africans would be enslaved, captured, and taken to Spanish colonies to work in the mines, and on the plantations, on the ranches, and the conditions were just horrible, terrible condition, forced into slavery. Now, it is true that some African tribes, they sold other African tribes into slavery. It's kind of like saying, if you're from one gang, I'm from another gang, I don't like you, you don't like me, we fight each other, I win, and so then now I enslave all your people and sell you to the Spaniards. That happened in Africa. So unfortunately, you're going to have Black people selling other Black people to Spaniards. In Africa, if you were a slave, you still had some rights and you could get out of slavery. You could still marry. You still had some privileges. But in the New World, if you were a slave, pretty much it was a life sentence. You're going to be a slave until you die. And you had no rights that would be respected at all. So enslaved Africans have been in the New World in colonies that belonged to Spain as early as the 1500s. Okay, now slaves will not get to America, where we live at today, until 1619 with Jamestown. 1619. So I wanted to remind you that Spain colonized the New World, and the reason why these colonies were established were for ESPN reasons: economic, social, political, and environmental reasons. Spain wanted to find gold and to gain wealth. Spain wanted to spread their religion. Spain also wanted to expand their empire by getting more land. And these are the reasons that motivated Spain to send explorers over to the New World. So today, this is what we talked about. We talked about Spain and the colonies that Spain had in the New World. We talked about Columbus, Christopher Columbus, coming over because he received help from King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. But later on, Conquistadors will come, and they will unfortunately kill a lot of people from the different Native American, such as the Incas or the Aztecs. We also had the Columbian Exchange. It was kind of good, but also kind of bad. Good because you get more food products and more different type of animals are now coming into the New World, but bad also because the diseases were brought into the New World that killed millions of Native Americans. We have the Spanish bringing their missionaries to convert the Native American people into Catholicism, to practice Catholicism. And in the Encomiendas, it becomes very brutal, very violent, and a lot of Native Americans are just not able to survive under Spanish rule, and so the replacement will be enslaved Africans. All right, so that is what we've talked about today. And now I just want to ask you 8 questions to see what you have learned. Question number 1. He was an Italian sea captain. He admired Marco Polo, and he wanted to sail to China, and that area, we're talking about India. He received financial support from King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella from Spain, and he did not discover America. That person is Christopher Columbus. Question number 2. What were the names of the 3 most famous ships that traveled with Christopher Columbus to the New World? Let's see if you remember. Those 3 ships are the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Question number 3. What's the name of the trade system between the East and the West? What is the name of this trade system? The trade system was called the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange. We're halfway there on question number 4. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella financed Christopher Columbus's voyage to the New World. Now, what country did the king and queen reign over? Where is King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella from? They are from Spain. They are the king and queen of Spain. Question number 5. What's the name of the religious group of Spanish people who came to the New World to convert the Native Americans to Catholicism? What is the name of the group of people? They are missionaries. Missionaries. Number 6. What's the name of the group of Spanish warriors who came to the New World and they conquered Native Americans by using rifles, swords, crossbows, metal armor, and cannons? These people are called the Conquistadors. Conquistadores. And question number 7. If a man from Spain had a baby with a Native American woman, what would their child be called? Mestizo. Mestizo. The baby would be considered mixed. And question number 8. Who replaced Native Americans as laborers on the Spanish Encomiendas? The replacement for Native Americans will be enslaved Africans. Enslaved Africans. All right. So if you got at least 6 out of the 8, it's not that bad. Not that bad. So I want to encourage you to continue to watch the videos and learn more about U.S. history, because we are here to learn about the 13 original English colonies all the way up to settling the Western frontier after the Civil War and Reconstruction. So thank you for stopping by today. Have a great day and make it a great day. Bye.